All right. So you are here for a session called How to Prep for Sub Life. I did do a presentation 2 weeks ago on I forget exactly what the title was, like how like being the best sub ever or something. I forget exactly what the title was. I'll have to refresh my memory as to what it was. So there is a whole other thing. I will be touching on a few of the things about that presentation very late on in this presentation. But this one is very much just how do you personally prep for being a sub? Like, so this is not necessarily even at school. It's not necessarily, yeah. So it's just kind of tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the year, kind of as to how it is. So you can go from like being a disastrous classroom kind of thing to having a very well controlled environment, and depending on how prepped or not prepped you are can depend on the outcome of your day, kind of thing, I feel. So this is who am I. So like I said, my name is Andrea Mishio. I have been teaching for 15 years now. My very first year I taught grade 5 French immersion. Then I moved to junior high and taught there grade 7, 8, 9 at Leduc Junior High for 14 years, 13 years. I don't know exactly, something like that. So yeah, I was there for most of my career, minus the 1 year. I taught grade 7 girls phys ed and grade 8 mostly social studies in French. I taught French immersion, but I did teach grade 7, 8, and 9 social studies, just depending on what they needed for the year and stuff. Last year I was on my deferred year, so I had a year off. I was supposed to be off the year of the pandemic to go travel the world with my family, and that didn't really happen. So we put that on hold and still haven't done it, but hoping to do it maybe here in a couple of years as my girls get a little bit older. So speaking of just my family, I've been married for 20, almost 20 years come this August. My husband and I have traveled various places around the world. I have two daughters who are in grade 3 and in grade 1 in French immersion as well. So I was saying, yeah, last year I went on a deferred year and I knew I didn't want to go back to where I was. There was many reasons for the circumstance of not returning, but I just kind of was feeling that like the air had been left out of my tires and I wasn't feeling great about returning back. I was kind of having some queries. I was like, man, I just don't know what it is though that I want. I know I still like to teach, but I know I need a change and I wasn't 100% sure what that change was. So this year I decided to sub. So I got onto the district that I was working for, which was Black Gold. I got onto their sub list as of September and subbed until April or Easter long weekend this year. And I'll explain that in just a second. But yeah, I subbed and I loved it. I didn't really sub coming out of university. I was a French immersion teacher, so I got a job really basically right out of university and didn't stop since then, essentially. So I didn't really know what to expect with the sub life. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't really know like what things to happen and stuff like that. But I've learned a lot in the last like 7 months about subbing and how to really kind of make it work. And when I had talked to Danny at the substitute teachers conference, I was like, you know what? Like, I really think subs need to kind of have like this little presentation, not presentation, but like just kind of have these discussions about like what it's like to sub and what it's like, what should you expect, what are things to prep for and stuff like that, because we don't always necessarily know what to do, especially when we are beginning out in our teaching careers. It kind of can be intimidating and like, oh my God, what do I do? I know I didn't have anything kind of like that. So I hope that this will help you do that. So through my subbing career of the last 8 months, I discovered that I have a true new passion for teaching little kids. So I would love next year to teach in like a grade 1 class, even kindergarten, maybe grade 2. So we'll see what happens with that. But that is kind of my goal. I am done with the junior high. And had I not had the experience or the chance to sub, I would have never guessed that I should have subbed or that I would want to switch into younger grades. Because you could ask me in like August, September, October of this year alone. I would have said like, no, I'm not teaching grade like lower Div 1. Are you nuts? Like, no way, thanks. And now I've definitely found a real passion for them. So it is amazing. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not subbed. So I said, as of Easter long weekend, just right after that, so the week after spring break, I got a cool little job with Edmonton Public. I was attached to a school, and I just like kind of worked as a floater-ish, if you will. I worked primarily with the grade 1 French immersion classes with their literacy. Or I would take over as the teacher in the class and the other teacher would pull kids out for literacy. So it kind of depended on what the teachers wanted. So I was doing that. I also subbed. I was the main sub for the building. So if a teacher was sick or if a teacher needed a day off or whatever, for whatever reason, I would be the person they would contact. So I was still having that like living the sub life and teaching at the same time, which I really loved. And then tomorrow, last week, I found out I am being moved to high school. Like have been having heart palpitations all day today. Edmonton Public didn't have school yesterday or today, so that's why I moved there tomorrow. I'm going to teach French language arts 10, 20, 30 for the next till the end of the year because the FLA teacher needed to go on, was on a leave. So I am like gearing back up into this sub thing of like, oh my God, I'm so nervous and whatever else. High school really isn't my thing. I knew like beforehand, maybe it would have been, but so I'm also in this like, oh my God, scary world of what's going to happen. So I'm going to be taking some of my own advice tomorrow and applying it into the classroom that I am going into. I also do speaking different conferences, and that's how I kind of got involved with these. I work for the ATA as an associate instructor as well. So if your school or district is asking the ATA to come in and bring presentations, I could be one of the people doing one of those things. And I have a love for fitness. Up in the one corner there, it's just really been like part of my journey of like bettering myself and learning to take care of myself better. And that's kind of where all of this came through with like just going to with just all of the learning how to take care of yourself and stuff like that. So it's kind of the combination of taking care of myself and knowing what was being like triggers at work and stuff like that and melding it into one. So we all know subbing isn't easy. It can be really hard. Especially if you are not equipped with the right tools to kind of like be going into the right spot. But there are some steps you can take to make it easier for yourself and easier for the classes that you're walking into. So that's kind of what this presentation is going to be about. Sorry. So the first thing I would say is get organized with some ideas. I know if you like, you're like, oh my God, how does this lady expect me to learn like 13 curriculums and know what it is and everything? I'm not saying learn all the curriculums. I'm saying do some research and learn about various curriculums and have some idea of what is happening. So what are like the basics of like grade 1 English and math? What are the basics of like grade 3 science? Like find kind of like one unit maybe. So it's not digging deep into all of them, but just having a really broad census of like, okay, this is what level they should be at. This is what level they could be at. This is like, oh, they're working adding with one integer. They're working on subtraction. They're working on dividing, like just kind of knowing like when those things get introduced and stuff like that. So it's not knowing like all these huge curriculums, but just knowing that like where your baseline kind of is and seeing, just kind of like browse through and just kind of see what it is that you want. And all of us are going to be subbing at different levels. So if you really want to be more of a junior high school sub, like it's looking more into those curriculums. If you really want to stick with elementary, it'll be more those. I will tell you, most of my stuff is based most off of elementary and junior high. I have never subbed or worked in a high school building until tomorrow. So that also is part of my angst of going. But yeah, I have learned a little bit of what they are at, where they're at. I've just like talked with people, and connecting yourself with different people that might know and can help you out along the way is also a great way to get some resources. So create some work, create resources. So what I did, and I know I have the fortune of being like I had worked grade 5, and then I worked in junior high. So I kind of had resources as to what to do. I have pulled some stuff like from my kids' work. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool and whatever. And as I subbed as well, like if teachers left worksheets, I kind of would take or ask for an extra copy and make an extra copy. And what I did was I created some resource binders. So I'm going to show you what I did here. So I literally have like 2 binders. There's the other one. And what I did was I divided them into different things. So this one is like divided by grade. So I have like little tabs here that have all the numbers. So this is grade 1. So this would be all like different grade 1 resources that I could use. And then I have grade 2. So then if I needed grade 2, I could go into my grade 2 section, and I have some stuff that I could have there. I have all the way up to grade 8 in this one. So again, like I said, I built these on just from being in different classrooms and using resources that the teachers had, or stuff that I kind of previously had, and some websites that I will be telling you guys in a little bit here about ones that I just like, websites that are really easy to use, really teacher friendly, and have great free resources. This other binder I have here is divided by like season, kind of, if you will. So I have like the yearly tabs on this one. So this is September. So it's like counting apples or like fall stuff. I have some stuff on Terry Fox, because we know that Terry Fox is a big one. I have some stuff on Orange Shirt Day in here that I had found in classrooms, residential schools, stuff like that. Then you go into like October, and I have Thanksgiving. Sorry, this wasn't really great. This was a book I had from a long time ago, so I threw it in there. October, so I have like a bunch of Halloween stuff and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, I'm going into this class, it's close to Halloween, or it's close to whatever. This is where I'm at. November, I don't have it in here because I probably took it out a while ago and haven't put it back, but I have like a Remembrance Day activity. December, obviously I have a lot of Christmas and stuff, and then Valentine's and winter and all that stuff. So this too is then too, like if I am subbing, or if you are subbing for a few more years, you have all your resources here, and it's not like you need to replan all the time. But I just found that these really helped me, because it was like, okay, I'm going into grade 3 today, or I'm going into grade 4 today, or whatever it is. And then I would just go into those quickly and just like grab a couple sheets. Then I would put them in a folder in my bag and just be like, okay, this is like my in case I need stuff, because that will often happen, is they're like, oh no, I need to have these resources, or I need to have these things, and I'm not 100% sure where they are. So it also kind of gives you a little bit of a heads up as to like what you could be teaching that day, especially if you know a little bit the curriculum, like the expectation of like where things could be at. Oh, there we go. So like I said, what should be in your resources? I would always have some kind of language arts worksheet. So whether it's comprehension, whether it's grammar, whether it's just like cut and paste kind of things, or mixed up sentences, whatever it is, depending on the grade level. So kind of have a few, like a Div 1, Div 2, and then Div 3, and then obviously Div 4 would be very different being in high school. Math worksheets as well. And it's not necessarily that you need to know like all what they are doing and stuff like that, but just working on basic math facts of adding, subtracting, multiplication, and division will get you very far, because kids always need practice on those skills. So just having those worksheets in your bag of tricks always is really helpful. I've used all of those for all grades in elementary, and even in junior high, just having some fun with like mad minutes, like, okay, we're gonna have a competition, and whoever gets the most right or whatever, have a little prize for them or something. And it really just is like amps up that like competitiveness in some of the people to just like really do well. Coloring worksheets. There are tons of different coloring worksheets you can have. And of course, like my thing that has all my coloring different ones in it is at work. So I don't have it with me, but I will have basic coloring sheets of like seasonal ones. So like springtime or Valentine's or Christmas or whatever it is. I also just have generic ones for those who might not be religious or those who just like, or for those off season. So I'll have like Garfield, I'll have Paw Patrol, I'll have like Harry Potter, I will have Hello Kitty, Star Wars, any kind of things kind of just make it really good. Other coloring sheets you can have are related to language arts or math. So there are lots that you can have like, okay, you have to color words that end in ing or ed in one color and then like different things, or like you have to color verbs, adjectives, and nouns different colors. Same thing with color math ones. Like it'll be like, okay, you have to add the sums, and the sum, any square that has the sum of 4 or whatever, you have to color this color. So there's a lot of different educational, other than just like coloring worksheets that you could have. I always also too in my bag of tricks will have a storybook of some sort, especially when we have younger kids too. And you know what? Like I taught 2 years ago, oh no, it was the year of the pandemic, right before the pandemic happened. I had storybooks and I had them like with my grade nines. We were in the library that year for our classroom, and they would ask me to read storybooks to them. And it kind of like, it also establishes, it kind of is hard to judge because you kind of need to establish a relationship and see what your relationship is with the class. But like I had a bunch of cool different storybooks that I would just read to them and stuff like that. And they just thought it was so fun. It just kind of relaxed them a little bit. You got to share some stories about different things. I found some on residential schools. I found some about Indigenous learning. So even if you can tie it into that, like those kinds of books always will hit a social studies curriculum. Or if you find some kind of really cool science book or whatever, like I have one about ABC space, and it's just like, hey, like here's a really fun one just about space and stuff like that. So having a couple storybooks in your bag too, because then you're not rummaging through the teacher stuff or where are the stories, where are this, it always helps. Stickers will also get you a long way, of your tools to have kind of thing. And it's funny how like much kids will actually love stickers. And I have just like whatever, I have all kinds of different ones, and you let them pick or you let them do whatever, and they just love that. Also have a couple of easy no prep games in your mind. So one of my favorite one, I just have a very basic ABC game, I call it. So whether we have played it, if there's 7 minutes till the bell, we have played it standing in line waiting to go out for recess. I have played it like just trying to kill time for like somebody to show up for something because maybe they were supposed to do whatever. So I just do, everybody stands on their chair. And I was like, hey, depending on the grade level will depend on how hard or easy I make the game. And same thing teaching in French or in English. In French, I'll have them say like words in French. English, have them in English words. So like a grade 1 level, I would have everybody stand up on their chair and I tell them, okay, we're going to go through the alphabet and you have to tell me a word that starts with that letter. So I will tell you the letter and then you have to tell me the word, and you have 5 seconds. And I just hold my hand up like this, and then I'll just go like count down slowly, and I'll be like A, and then the kid will come up, then I'll move up to the next one, B, and I will tell them the letter because they don't have like, because you want it to be fast too. It's just reassuring for them to understand the game. I use the same game working with grade 6s, except for the changes is that I don't give them the letter. So they have to pay attention, which is very hard for some of them with listening skills, as to like where they're at in the alphabet. So again, I will tell you, okay, this person is starting off with A. They have to come. I will come around and I will just point to you when it is your turn, and I will count down with my fingers. If you have not given me a word that starts with the letter, by the time I've reached 0, you're out and you sit down, and you just kind of wait to see who is, like, you just keep going around the classroom until you have 1 or 2 standing. So same concept with grade 1s. I give them the letter. Grade 6s, I won't give them the letter. So I will point to them and I will say, we're starting with A. And then I just wait. And then some get so like, because they have no attention, like they're not paying attention. Kids are talking. And then as the kids get more competitive, they start like, you need to be quiet. You need to listen. And it kind of find it like really changes the dynamic of the classroom a little bit, because some kids are uber competitive. I'm one of those kids. So it's just a really simple, easy game that you don't need any prep for. I do that. I will sometimes have like a deck of cards in my bag, and two, like, hey, I will pick 2 cards and you have to do like multiplication. And same thing, standing on your chairs, I point to you, I will tell you what it is. I'll pick 2 cards. And if you don't have it solved in 5 seconds, you're out, kind of thing. So it's really easy. Or zip, zap, zop kind of thing. Multiples of 7. Like, okay, if you're a multiple of 7, you can't say the number. Then if you say the number, you're out. And if you just say like zip. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, zip, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, zip, 14, 15. Sorry, I said 14, I would have been out. So just kind of things like that. But they're no prep games. They're easy to have, and you just kind of like play the same games over and over. And I've played a few of them with some classes over and over, and they just love it because it's something different. So know some great websites. These are amazing websites I find have helped save my butt a few times. Teacher Pay Teachers. I'm going to go onto this link. I'm not going to show you all of the links just for time wise, but this is a great resource. If you have not used Teacher Pay Teachers yet, it is amazing. So I've already signed in. And say you're like, oh my God, I need something on the solar system. And so I'm like, okay, I just need something quick. We're doing this after recess, and the teacher, we've already plowed through everything we need. So you will have resources here that have prices and whatever. But if you go down, oh, right here, under price, and you click free, it will give you all the free resources that are on this subject. So of course my computer is being very slow because I want it to work fast. And what it will do is it'll filter out the free ones for you. And you can kind of look and see like, oh, okay, look, this is okay. It's a fun comprehension worksheet here. Solar sister planet sorts. So you probably have to do some activities. So let's click on this one here. And then you just download it to your computer and you're going to be able to print it off. Most of them also have a key with them. So it is great. So this one has some kind of article. It has some questions. And then there's usually a colored version and a black and white version. So, okay, great. We're going to do this activity. I print it off and then go. This website is fantastic. There are so many resources you can use. I have used it from everything. Like I was even looking stuff for teaching FLA 30 next week, and there are stuff on here. So it is an amazing resource to use. So please use that one. I'm also just going to check the chat here because yes, word searches too. Those are awesome. I've used Sudokus as well. There's so many things you can use for kids. I love, Art Hub for Kids is amazing. We'll go back to that. And I have to find, hang on. See, this is my technology not savviness. And this is me when I sub. Just a second. I need to find all this stuff because I'm not so smart with the technology. And I just need to pull up my screen and have all these things. And then I like make up stuff and whatever. There we go. Got it. I don't know why. I don't know why that's popping up. And then I make fun of myself because I don't know how to use stuff. I don't know what this is for. I need to close out of it. Sorry. See? This is like And then the kids are like, I know how to fix it. I know what to do. And you're like, no, I got it. I just need to like have a moment to fix this. Exit full screen. There we go. And then I say, see, I can do it. I'm just going to close this. It's going to be easier. Present. Okay. Back on a roll. Raz Kids is the next one I have on there. I'll just start talking about it. It is wonderful. It is a great reading resource. I would say 90% of the classrooms that I have worked in have access to this. Their teachers have already set up their accounts and everything. You can read in English and in French. It can be read to you. If you're like, oh my God, I don't know what else to do, you can use that. Prodigy as well as a game. I have never really played it. I know that it is very good for math and for English. You go on quests and they have to conquer the quest and have to conquer the problem or whatever it is to move on to next levels. So you can tell them to play the English one or the math one or the English one, depending on what subject you might be on. And sometimes too, as a sub, like either one of these two. ABC, yeah, is a great one too, but you have to be careful with the district that you're on. Some districts don't have access to it. And I know like Black Gold did, but Edmonton Public doesn't. So it could be also a teacher thing. I've personally never set it up for myself, but it is a great resource. It has like access like K to 12, all kinds of different games and stuff like that. It was really fun. I used it with my grade ones. I was subbing with grade one for the month of September, and we used it quite often to do math skills and stuff like that. And then when I would go in with them and sub with them, after that, we would play a few. There's a few hard games on there that I was like, I don't even know how this works, but it is great as well. Art Hub for Kids is fantastic. It is a great way to like kill some time, but you can also like kill some time, but learning something. So I did one time with grade threes, they learning about the life cycle. And we did, so it was a folded card and you drew a cocoon and then you opened it up and it was a butterfly inside. So we were talking about life cycle, about how butterflies become like are a cocoon and stuff like that. And then they go through their chrysalis phase and then they become beautiful butterflies. So we had drawn that. We like, there's a lot of them on there. For different things. There's also just funny, whatever. Okay, let's draw a boat. Like you can literally look up anything and there is stuff on there, but the kids love it. He's a great person to follow the instructions. So it goes step by step as well. And one thing I always tell kids when we start with art is like, you know what? Everybody's art's going to look different at the end. Nobody's is going to look the same. So just make sure that you set those boundaries too, because some kids get really anxious of that their art is not looking like the one on the screen. So just having that also is a great backup plan or like the end of the day activity kind of thing. Have some movement breaks planned. So these are my 3 go-tos are Danny Go, Would You Rather, and this 2D Ta are the 3 that I play constantly. The kids all love them. They think they're funny. Some will think they're too cool to do movement breaks, and some will think like, oh, we don't need to do this. The Would You Rather I find are better for older kids. So I will show this one. So it's just going through the questions here. And so what it does, if it will start, is it will just go through different would you rather. So as you saw on the beginning screen there, it was like, would you rather eat popcorn or goldfish? And then you have to pick one or the other. And then what it'll do is it'll give you an exercise to do afterwards. And you have to do that exercise for like 15 or 20 minutes. Not 15, 20 minutes, 15 to 20 seconds. Sorry. So it's just as a really good, like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Oh, there, now we go. So I always find the movement ones too, just because it gets them to do something. There's lots of different ones. You can have like a Christmas one or a St. Patrick's Day one.
Veggie straws or Ritz Bits? Come on, veggie straws all day. All right, looks like I'm doing the twist jumps.
So that's what it is. It's really easy. The kids pretty much generally love it. I find when I put on a movement break, they'll ask for one or two after that. And I'm like, hey, we'll save another one for later or whatever. So I will do that. I'm just going back to use here. Oh yeah, you use Prodigy today. Yeah. Lots of kids have accounts to that, so it's great. Dreamscape, good reading comprehension. Oh, I've never read that. I've never had that one. I'm going to add that to my list. See, and this is what I love about this kind of community too, is like we get to share our ideas. A lot of this stuff I didn't know about previous to subbing, and I was like, oh, these are all great things to have because we should be using these things in our classrooms. So yeah. I love Tootie Tot because it like is one that's really funny. Essentially, you have to like sing with your mouth hanging open and you have to like shake your butt and have to have your arms up. And if you do it with the kids think you're pretty funny with doing it as well. So like, I don't know, it's just a good like laugh, giggler, icebreaker kind of activity as well. So these are my go-tos. Danny Go, he has one that's called the wiggle dance, and it's like do the wiggle dance, dun 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 dun, and you just like wiggle different ways and stuff like that. Go Noodle, you can set up your own account. You can set it up if you have a Gmail. You get like points and stuff. I know a lot of kids who use it, or a lot of teachers who use it to get points with their classroom or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how it works because I've never used that way. So have a bag of supplies with you too. There's nothing worse than like, oh, I don't have a pencil. A kid's like, I don't have a pencil, I don't have a eraser, the pencil sharpener, like a lot of people have electric ones. It's broken. I lost my this. And you're like, oh my God, like it just is nonstop. So I have a bag of supplies. I have a little pouch. I have pencils, pens, Sharpies, erasers, pencil sharpeners, sticky notes, and a whistle. A lot of people also and I didn't really know this as a junior high teacher that a lot of elementary teachers have to teach their own phys ed. I don't know. I thought for in some world, most schools had phys ed people teaching phys ed class, but that's very a misconception on my behalf. There were a few elementary schools in the district that I work for had phys ed specialists in the elementary school. So it all depends. It's also great to have a whistle just if you take the kids outside to the park or if you're on supervision or anything, especially because you don't know kids' names, just having that noise is a great. So I bought myself like a fanny pack kind of thing because they're super cool and in style. I have all this stuff in a fanny pack, and then I also have a pouch for extra stuff that I'll keep extra pencils. I might have some like pencil crayons kind of that I've gathered on the floor from other classes and just kind of have something. But this way, then you are prepared if kids don't have supplies. I also keep expo markers in my, I forgot to put that on the list. I keep that with me as well, just because too, again, if you have nothing to write on the board with and you're like, oh my God, where is it? It's really hard to like, you're losing the connection with the kids and you're losing time. And then that's how things start getting offhand and whatever. So the more prepared you can be, just the better you're off to just kind of have a smooth running day. So yeah, I keep all of this. So I have a big bag that I just kind of keep everything. And then I take my stuff out from the day before. Say I'm teaching grade 4. And then the next day I'm teaching grade 8. I'll put a few different activities in my bag. I'll put the grade 4 stuff out, and I'll keep all of this stuff on hand at all times, just because you never know when you might need a sticky note. You never know when whatever. Sharpies too is just like kids like them. And if you kind of give them like, hey, you can do this, and then I'll lend you my Sharpie, like they're pretty good with it. It depends on if you want it back or not. Ask for something in return. So I will lend you this, but make sure you give me this, or else I put their name on the board or something. Or if you're really not too worried about losing it or for them keeping it, there are some kids, I'm like, just have this pencil, I don't care. It kind of depends, up to you. So have a bag of supplies and bring it with you everywhere you go. And so this is kind of, sorry, I just need another drink. this is kind of going back to the presentation I did a couple weeks ago about like how to prep yourself and like how to be a fantastic sub and stuff like that. But this is just kind of a reiteration of that. So arrive early. This is dependent on you. I was a show up the last minute possible type sub, just because I have to drop my kids off at school first. So I am the person who doesn't mind showing up and like having chaos in the morning. Some people do not like that. Some people need to arrive early and need to know where everything is. If I do go to a school where I don't know the school very well, the first questions I ask is, where is the staff bathroom and where is the staff room? Because then you can kind of know generally in that area is where everything will be when you arrive to the school. Don't be afraid to set your expectations with the class. If they're like, oh, that's not how my teacher does it, or that's, and you say, I am not that teacher. I'm not Mrs. Smith. And I can say that because that, well, I guess I'm not Mrs. Jones. I am, it's me. And that is my expectation, is that you don't do X, Y, Z, or that blah, blah, blah. Another thing too, I find too, if they're like, can we do this? And they kind of are looking around, you're like, well, would your teacher let you do that? You say it loud enough. If they're not allowed to, some kids are going to tell you for sure. So then you're like, no, if your teacher wouldn't let you do that, then that doesn't sound like a great idea. And I kind of do that with websites because I'm not 100% sure with them. If I'm like, hey, you can have a little bit of Chromebook time, you can go on ABC app, Prodigy, Rise Kids or whatever. When they're like, oh, can I go on whatever? Like you just said, dream something. I'd be like, oh, well, would your teacher let you go on that one? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, okay, yeah, go ahead. Most teachers too will also have a Google Classroom, and they'll have websites on there and say like you can play any of those games kind of thing too. Be flexible in your day. Like if flexibility is what's going to be key, and it's going to be the key to your career. Essentially, I said the like word for my last 3 years has been pivot. I feel like we got into the pandemic, we had to pivot. We had to teach on and offline. We had to pivot. This year, teaching and subbing has been pivot, pivot, pivot. I was in one school and it was like, okay, this is your job this week. And then the next week it would be something different. And the next week it was like pivot. And then it's like, oh, now you're going to high school. And I was like, oh my God. So just being flexible and kind of go with the flow kind of thing. Like if everything doesn't happen as you need to, it's okay. There's another day. It'll be fine. Really, as a sub, your biggest worry is just keeping the tiny humans alive, or keeping the humans alive, and not having anything huge happen. That's really the essentials of what we need to have done as subs. So it is really key. Just like if something's not going right, like just do something else. If the teacher's like, we need to get this, this, and this done, like say we tried this, it wasn't working, just leave notes, is always great. Build relationships with the kids. That'll always get you far. And I have a big thing on this in the presentation I did before. If you would like the link, I can send it to you for that one. But building a relationship with the students is huge. And that's if you set that off right at the beginning of the class. And I have some tips on like how you can do that in that previous presentation. I don't want to like hammer those things. As to what how you can do that as a sub and kind of get that confidence and trust of the students within the first like 10-15 minutes of being there. Socialize with the students and staff, so making sure you're walking around in the classroom. Don't just sit at the desk. I have seen like subs do everything. I have seen subs painting their nails at the desk while the class is like exploding. I have seen teachers or subs like just reading a book while the class is exploding. Like the more present you can be around them and like just have a buzz about yourself with the students, the better your class flows and the better you're just going to have. Same thing with the staff, like introduce yourself to your neighbors teaching. If you get there early enough, say like, hey, I'm subbing for so-and-so today. If I have any questions, do you mind if I pop in, kind of thing? And most teachers will be like, yeah, no worries. Or give you some little tips about what to do, or even them too will like give you, they're like, hey, watch out for AB, like look out for little Ted because he can be like quite a handful. Or if Daniela is getting to be like a lot on your plate, like just send her to me or whatever. So like you kind of can get to know about the students a little bit more that way. And set your boundaries really early with the class. Like, these are my expectations and these are the boundaries that I have. Like, don't be afraid to set boundaries with the kids. You are still there to teach. You aren't there to be their best friend, but you also can be that like cross a little bit more than the teacher. You can be a little bit more on the friendship side of like, okay, if you guys do this for 10 minutes, or if everybody gets this activity done, we can do this. And usually I like do like, okay, we can go out for recess 10 minutes early, or we can go have Chromebook time for 15 minutes or whatever, or you can have free time to draw kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of things that you'll kind of be able to tell. So that's kind of all I really have for you today. It just kind of was more like how you can, like I said, prep for yourself at home before you're even entering into a building or into a school, to be able to be the most efficient and best version of you kind of thing, so that you are prepped for this craziness of school and stuff like that, and teaching, this crazy career that we have. So again, my name is Andrea. If you ever have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to email me or find me on Instagram. That is my handle. So they're both the fit.wonder.womom. I know it's a weird name. I'll give you the insight to it. So fit obviously is for my fitness part of myself. So my account kind of holds 3 pillars of fitness. The wonder is for the teacher in me. I'm always wondering, always trying to explore, always trying to better myself and stuff like that. And the mom is because I am a mom, and I feel like teaching and momming there are a lot of parallels between the two. And I will make fun of my kids and I make fun of my students, and it just like whatever. So it's just like a funny teacher humor account if you are into that mom account kind of thing. I have a little bit of fitness stuff and more. And I say fitness on the sense of like, you need to take care of yourself because nobody else is going to, and just reminders of those kinds of things and whatever else. So yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I feel like, yeah, it's a little bit short, but it's okay. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time to ask them. I am going to exit out of here. I am going to go into our chat here. Oh, Band-Aids. Yes, Band-Aids. That's too, I can't believe how much kids go through Band-Aids as to what they like to have. I'm going to stop share. That's what I want to do. Yeah, have Band-Aids in your bag. Yeah, that will also help, or else find where they are if they go to the office or anything like that. Is there a recording of today to send us? There will be a recording, yes. I'm not exactly sure how to send it to you specifically, but if you send me an email, I can send you the link once I get it, because Danny will always send it to me, and then I can forward it to people if they need to. So I would say that's your best way, or else to check on the ATA website. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns, or like just general information you would like to know? Yes, I've had that too. Check the school's website before going in the special days. It sucks to miss PJ Day and wearing white when your school is having a water fight. Oh my God, that's never happened to me. But yeah, like the fun days and stuff like that. I forgot to say, another thing I always do too is I keep my sub plans from teachers that have sent them to me, because now a big thing is like they will email it to you, and I keep a lot of the sub plans. I'll make like a folder so that I'm like, oh, I one time had to go in and teach music for Div 1, and I was there for 3 days, so she had a lot of things left for me, and then I had to go back and teach music at another school for something. I was like, I have those sub plans, and I looked at her stuff and I was like, oh, I could have this on my back plate and I could have this. And I actually used a few of the activities. So that's another thing to do too, is just keep your sub plans on hand, like old ones, so that you can use for other classes as well. I find really helps. Where am I able to find the slide link for building relationships? Oh, let me see if I can. It was in another presentation I did, which is on, oh, perfect. Thank you, Melissa. You're amazing. That's it right there. So that was it. Tips to being a remarkable sub. So that one there has a lot more information on it as well. If you would like to watch that for subbing as well, it has some tips on the building relationships and how to kind of like when you enter the building and stuff like that, things like that. Is there any other things? Thank you, Melissa, for being such a help. Like you have really like stepped up the game here and made me look like I'm a rookie at this, especially that you've been teaching for so long and subbing, which is great. Is there a certificate for today? I give you a gold star certificate for showing up. That's all I got. No, there is none. I know, Melissa, same here. And that's why I feel like this has been like, when I entered something, I'm like, man, like I thanked God that I had like a career ahead of me. And I was like, okay, so I knew kind of some things to base it on. But I was like, there really isn't much for subs like to like help us out and like, okay, especially if you're first teaching, like, I don't know how many people learned some new websites today that you had never seen before. I'm not exactly sure what they are teaching in university as to what like, I don't remember learning anything, but it was a long time ago. I don't know if it could be different now as to what they're teaching, but like you really have to find all this stuff on your own. And as a sub, you don't have time to find it when you are, unless you're at home by yourself. So that's why I say like you kind of have to be prepped before you enter and kind of have like make a Google Doc or make like a whatever. They have all the links, and that's what I did to start with. And I had all my games and I had all of my whatever. And now I just know it because I've done it so many times. But it was a great way for me to start into like, okay, as teacher had this great website, I'd add it to my links and have like you're creating this like ever living working document. And then when you get into your own classroom, eventually, if that's where you want to go, you still have it that you can use. Thanks for this. Great. I'm a new sub and idea share. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you got some ideas, Amandeep. Thank you. I was wondering if this one was recorded. Sorry if I added it to my calendar. So yes, it is recorded, but the link won't be sent out until tomorrow or Friday. It depends on when Danny gets to it. But you just have to check the ATA website and it will be there. So look for it in the next couple of days. Love learning all the resources. Good. That's all I want is like for people to learn some new stuff and have some resources in your back pockets just to like be able to like, okay, I can survive. I can do this. Whew, because it can be a lot. So yeah, anybody else has any other questions or comments? Now's the time. If not, oh, do you have a question?
Yeah. I just joined, so I don't know if you talked about it in the presentation. I'll watch after. But I'm probably going to be looking at going into interactions or pre-kindergarten, so like more special ed, potentially subbing in the next bit. But I was curious if you have any like advice for those areas specifically.
I have never done with interactions or pre-K, but all I can say is just like I know at our school that I was just at had a big interactions program, and it's really just talking with them and just kind of letting them like not run the show, but like, okay, let them like trust the EAs that are in the class, rely on them, and just kind of have like, okay, this is what they're going to do. And it's just like, it will just happen as it is. And trying to force something, especially I find with those kind of classes, it's not going to work. If they're not doing it, they're not doing it. There's no point in fighting with it. I know we one day had like an interactions girl who was in the gym and they had to leave and she wasn't leaving. And I was like, that's okay. Like I just put pylons on like a quarter of the gym. And I was like, you know what? If she needs to stay here all class, that is fine. I can alter my games as to what it is. You could tell the EA was like stressing out because she was like, oh my God, I need to leave and whatever. And I was like, I'm 100% okay with her being here. And I just told the class, I was like, friends, we have a friend who just needs a little bit more time. And I think it's just addressing them as well is like the biggest thing is they just want to be recognized. They just want to be learners. Pre-K, like I subbed in preschool last year a little bit on my daughter's old preschool just for funsies kind of thing. And I think with them too, it's like just basic playing and talking, like getting down with them. And like they don't really have adults who will play because I don't know if you have your own kids, but like I don't play with my own personal children. I'm like, you have siblings to play with. But when I teach, I feel it's very different. And then like just getting on their level, and I would sit on the floor with them and just like have conversations. And I feel they felt just like a safe place for them as well, because you were just getting down on their level, making eye contact with them and stuff like that, and just like not being so much on top of them, but like really crouching down and like, you need to talk to me and stuff like that. And I think just having those kinds of things and just keeping it basic, stories with them too. They love stories. And if you're really like, yeah, if you're really killing, like just kind of go through the centers usually in pre-K they have, and just playing with every kid at every center so that you can have a chance to get to know them. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has any questions, concerns, comments. Oh, Flippity Net, great for making groups and partners. Yeah. Most classes too, I find, like have their center stations, like they know, like you say, go into your centers and like everybody knows where to go. And it's like a magic wand happened and you're like, okay, they all just kind of know, especially those younger kids. They've got their routine down pat, like especially by now in the year, they know 100% what is happening. So just like, yeah, but those are great too. Like it's always great to just have, or there's like the wheel one too. I forget what's, it's like wheel of something, wheel of names or something like that. And you put all the kids' names in it. You can spin the wheel and stuff like that. You can do something fun with that as well. So yeah. Oh, yes. Here, I'll put my email in the chat. Oh, if you need it again, sent it to the wrong. So it's fit.wonder@gmail.com. I know it's very long, but yeah. And like I said, if you ever have questions, please don't feel free. Please feel free to contact me. Like I said, ask people around you too. You would be it's crazy how much teachers are willing to help. And I find like some schools you get into and you're like, whoa, like there's even too much help kind of thing, which is great. But yeah, ask around if you're like, oh, do you have something for this or whatever? Or yeah, but I really found like in September, October, November, creating those resource binders really helped me, just because it really helped me understand where I was going and what I was getting into every day as to what I was teaching and stuff like that. So it just gave me a really good idea of what the curriculums were, and just like creating and knowing, having like something in case there wasn't enough. I would say 95% of the time, the teachers have planned way too much, but sometimes you just need to do a little bit something different. And I'll leave them a copy of the whatever it is I do too, and like, hey, you could use this for future whatever, just letting you know we did this. So yeah. Well, I think that is it, unless anybody else has any other questions. I thank you all for coming and chatting with me tonight. And I hope you learned something new. I hope new teachers that you have a great endeavor in this crazy profession that you're about to embark. I would say most of it is really good. Some of it is really hard, but you're never bored. You'll have a good chuckle every day. And that's for me what was key for why I've been in it for so long, I think. So yes. I don't think there's any other questions. So I will end the chat. It was great getting to know you all. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening.